Welcome traders to this video on the trades taken from September 24th, 2018. Over the weekend, I started to make a two-part video series on developing a trading plan. And while I was doing that, I discovered two additional patterns, including the patterns that you see illustrated on this chart for the entries into a trade. These patterns represent the highest quality possible when looking to initiate or exit a trade. The new patterns represent a combination of order flow, and the combination of the order flow patterns is going to remain proprietary, although if you are a ZoneTraderPro customer, I will release what is the combination of signals needed in order to make these trades. So what we're going to look at here is we're going to look at the trades from September 24, 2018, and the total of these trades represented a possible 52.75 points in the ES on 9/24. In order to take this pattern, you need 3 ticks of confirmation before entering on the 4th. So as you see right here, the line that represents what would be the winning trade starts at this point right here and not at any other point in the resistance zone here. This represents the point where you would have entered in on a market order, and the total point possible or the maximum favorable excursion would be to here. The areas that are circled in green is where the pattern occurred in real time. If I have a circle in red, as I do up here, this represents a normal point of control extension and or absorption pattern, and the combination of signals that I'm referring to did not occur there. However, those signals themselves are, of course, extremely powerful, and I counted them towards the overall profit. So the main point of this video is to get you to understand what the trading patterns are and not necessarily the order flow pattern itself, because that's simply reading an order flow chart and then entering a trade. So as we look to the beginning of the day, we see that we have a trend trade here. And this trend trade does have some adverse excursion to it. And because of that adverse excursion, this is going to be the reason why we're only going to get 2.25 points out of it. And it would be somewhat questionable whether or not you would take it. However, if you did, you got 2.25 points out of it. Because of the adverse excursion to the trend trade, we would then be looking for the reversal trade, which is going to happen right here. And this trade itself was good for another 2.75 points until we get up to the test of this high. At the test of the high, we developed a POC extension, and at this point here, we developed the proprietary trading signal, and that we took for another 3 points. Here, after this counter trend trade, at this point here, we developed the proprietary signal again, and this resulted in our only loss for the day. And it brings up a good point about whether or not we should even be taking a counter trend trade, because normally a counter trend trade is only going to get between 2 and 3 points of profit anyway. So it's something that you'd want to look at in your trading plan to decide whether or not to take something that is not going to get you at least 3 to 4 points. However, the loss is only 1 point, so you have an extremely good risk reward scenario on that. The next time the signal pops up is down here at the strong trend support zone. However, this is something I consider high risk, so we do not see that trade being taken from there. However, we created a strong trend pattern at minor resistance here, and again we see the pattern being created. This trades into an exhaustion trade, again with the pattern being created, trading into a trend trade. That trend trade good for another 3.5 points, and at that point we develop a point of control extension and absorption, but no proprietary trading signal. That trade itself was good for another 3.25 points. However, there was no trading signal here to take this back down to the test of this low. At the test of the low, we didn't see the trading signal until we got to this point right here. Your entry would have been 29.19 1/4, and then that was good for 3.75 points, where we again developed the trading signal. Taking it down from the counter trend trade, good for another 3.25 points, and that trades into a typical trend trade. Now, this is the idea where when you have a typical trend trade setup, this is going to be the location from where you're going to make your most points from. So we have the entry here, and that entry is good for a total of 6.25 points until we trade into another counter trend trade up here. Taking that counter trend trade down, we would get approximately 5 points out of that. And the signal again develops down here. I'm labeling it high risk because at this point it was only created after we had 6 ticks of adverse excursion. So for that reason, I'm labeling that high risk and not initiating a trade from here. However, because of the trend trade with adverse excursion, I am then looking for a reversal trade, and the reversal trade had both the trading signal along with a POC extension, and that trade was good for 2.75 points. Down here at the counter trend trade here, we developed not one, not two, but 3 trading signals down here at the low. And this would have been an excellent area to add to the trade, because we would see that we'd had a failed trend trade right there with no signal. And then this is testing this low that has been previously made down here on 4 separate times. At the test of that low, we see another trading signal, and then the total of that is good for 4 points until we see that trading signal again here. Now, at this point, a trading short signal was developed, but I'm going to consider that a high risk counter trend trade because we are in a strong trend reversal. In a strong trend reversal, we move from blue zone to blue zone, and for just the reason that it is high risk, we see the market trading 1.5 higher eventually over here. The trading signal was generated again down here. However, I am not counting that towards the eventual point total. The market trades down into the strong trend reversal trade, and where you would expect to see support is the minor support zone here, and you see the proprietary pattern being developed here. And then as the market traded up, traded back down again to the exact point, and at this point a point of control extension and absorption pattern was developed. That was good for 3 points, and that traded into counter trend trade, where we again had a point of control extension, absorption, and the proprietary trading signal. And as you can see, we're getting towards the end of the day. You again see what is the reason why you would want to consider your risk reward if you were planning on taking counter trend trades. This counter trend trade, you wouldn't have been able to enter it until a price of $29.25.50. It traded into a trend trade, at which point another proprietary signal was developed, and this is being developed within 15 minutes of the close. That was good for another 1.5. So all in all, a day that presented some significant trading opportunities, provided very little exposure to risk, so long as the high risk trades were identified and avoided. If you are a current ZoneTrader Pro customer and would like information about the pattern that we are dealing with here, please give me a call and we will go over that in detail with you. Have a good day, and if you have any questions, be sure to give me a call.